Welcome to Tiny Show and Tell Us, the bonus series where you write in with your favorite science news or factoid, we read your email aloud, and then we dive deeper. I'm Sam Jones, and I'm here with my co-host, Deboki Chakravarti, as always.
Yes. I want to be like, wait, is it always? But yes, It's me. Hi, Sam. So last time we talked about the architectural genius of corvids, we also talked about mitochondrial Eves. We also wrote a little bit of a fanfic about mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosomal atom. It got a little weird. It's okay.
Yeah.
But we can do things like that because of listeners who send us their stories. So if you want to be one of those listeners, if you want to see what weird directions we end up in, send us a story to our email at tinymatters@acs.org or fill out the form linked in the episode description. Sam, I'm going to start out with a message from listener Leo.
Excellent.
Who wrote, I was at a house party last year when I was talking to one of my friends about his physics research, and he introduced me to the idea of 5D storage. At the time, his job was to carefully create the crystals that data could be stored in. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this idea ever since. The most exciting aspects of this research to me are the potential it has to reduce the power needs of massive databases used by tech giants such as Google and Microsoft. But I'll be honest, I don't completely understand how it works, but I'd love to know more. Thanks for all you do, Leo.
First off, this is the nerdiest house party I've ever heard of.
Absolutely. I loved it.
I mean that in the best way because that is a house party I'd want to be at.
Right. Yeah. Like, I also don't know any other kind of house party. Like, I am a person, if you invite me to your party, at some point, I don't know if I'm going to be talking about 5D storage. You guys are going to hear me talk about it today, and you're going to be like, I don't know if you're the person to talk about it at a house party. But, like, I will bring up, the weird thing that I learned about for writing, a Tiny Matters episode.
Yeah. I feel like my arsenal is so packed at this point with weird things because of exec producing and co-hosting this show.
Right. And, I just said I probably won't talk about 5D storage, but now that I've tried to learn about it and kind of understand it, it actually probably will be a thing I talk about.
Someone invite Deboki to their next house party so that she can come and talk about 5D storage.
Yeah. This is like when people invite a clown for their birthday party. I will be that clown. I will be there. I will be your sad science clown. Okay. Here we go.
Sorry, Leo. We're actually going to get into it.
So, Leo, I'm going to give this a shot. I hope this helps you understand because it makes sense in my head, but there's also, like all things physics, what I have learned is that I can only get as far as things make sense. And if I think about it just a little bit more, then it will stop making sense. It's like a house of cards that comes toppling down. So 5D storage, it's this technique that scientists have developed that can basically record a massive amount of data in a very stable form and also do it potentially pretty cheaply. It uses glass and very, very fast laser writing to create these little structures in the glass. And those structures are basically a type of data. And the 5D comes from the fact that these data points have 5 dimensions of it. You could have a data point on a 2D graph, right? And it gives you 2 pieces of information. It gives you your X and Y. This is doing that, but with 5 dimensions total. So first off, there's where in the glass the data is located. And so that will give you 3 pieces of information. It gives you an XYZ coordinate kind of. Basically, position is giving you 3 sorts of data points. And then you also have the size of the structure that's being made, and you also have the orientation of the structure. So basically, depending on the angle that you're looking at this disk at and the magnification you're looking at, that will change what the disk looks like, kind of like how you're reading the information from it.
I mean, this is tiny, right? This is tiny, 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 tiny.
Yeah. I think we're talking nano.
Right.
And so they're so tiny and they're so close to each other that you can pack a ton of data onto these disks because you're able to just encode so much information into just a tiny little structure.
Right.
And so apparently you can get 360 terabytes on a disk. I forgot how big they are, but they're not huge or anything.
That's so much data. That is so much data.
I still remember when I had a 56 megabyte USB drive and thinking that was the height of luxury.
Right. When you had a hard drive that was I remember when I got one that was 1 gig and it was the size if I stacked 3 of my cell phones together.
Yeah.
And you had to be so cautious with it because if you even bumped it the littlest amount when you were downloading something, it would just break
right.
forever.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
To like think that we're like at a place where people can put 360 terabytes on a disk.
Yeah.
And they're made using quartz, so they're pretty cheap to make. And they're super stable. They can last for up to 13.7 billion years at 19 degrees Celsius. So like basically forever. Like they will outlive us.
Yeah.
And so that is also, yeah.
They're going to outlive us by like 13.6 billion years at this point.
Yeah. So people have also like figured, you know, if they're going to outlive us, maybe we should put some major historical documents on them. So things like the Magna Carta have been encoded on one of these discs, the Declaration of Human Rights. There's also been a copy of the human genome recorded on a coin-sized crystal, which is now being stored in the Memory of Mankind collection in the Hallstatt salt mine in Austria.
What?
I think like part of the premise of doing that was supposed to be like, well, if humanity is obliterated, this genome is right here. Someone can come along and use it. I don't know if we're going to get to that, but that is an option that's available.
That's fascinating. Also, yeah, the Memory of Mankind collection.
I know, yeah.
So morbid, but now I need to know what other kinds of memories we think people or beings, I'll say, in the future might want of us.
I'm going to look it up right now. I like saw that and was like, huh? Okay.
Tiny Matter's field trip to the Memory of Mankind collection.
Right.
It doesn't sound like it's very accessible, though. If it's in a salt mine, like what?
Yeah. So this is the oldest salt mine in the world. Everyone can participate within drawing this portrait of our era. You can contribute a personal story, your favorite poem, or newspaper articles which describe our problems, visions, or our daily life. You can also support them with funds. Sam, if you were going to contribute anything to the Memory of Mankind, what would you want to preserve for eternity?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking, like, what is important enough that I would really want some beings in the future to be able to check
experience,
out?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is an iconic film that is so just like Americana?
Yeah, I'm like, you should burn the last episode of Vanderpump Rules season 10 when Ariana yells at Tom and put that in the salt mine.
Yes.
Humanity caught in one episode.
All of the Emmy-nominated episodes of Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I would put in like The Little Prince or something. That feels like what I would want to like stick around maybe.
Yeah, like a part of me really feels like music would be the thing I would want beyond anything else.
Right.
Because I feel like music is just so, but then it's like, what kind of music? Because music is just such a cultural thing.
Right.
Do I do like the top hit in every country around the world from 1 year, like, I don't know, from, you know, like 100 years ago to now?
Right.
I just don't know. Oh, it's hard.
It's okay. It was a high pressure question.
It is a high pressure question. And now I'm going to keep thinking about it all day.
Listeners, tell us what you would put into the Memory of Mankind. I want to know.
Yeah, I definitely want to know what people would want. So you all probably know that Tiny Matters is part of Multitude, which is a podcast collective. And if you love Multitude and you're glad that Multitude exists, we could use your support with the Multi-Crew. This is our membership program where we release weird, cool podcasts with new combinations of Multitude hosts, share behind-the-scenes details on making our shows, and have exclusive monthly hangout sessions with you, Multi-Crew members. Get exclusive access to stuff like the entire back catalog of our friendly debate show, Head, Heart, Gut, our rewatch podcast all about the Emmy Award-winning show The Pit, or even immersive medieval ASMR episodes. And now if you're like, wow, it's very annoying to sign up for new accounts, great news. You can enjoy our bonus Multi-Crew podcasts right in Apple Podcasts. Just search for the Multi-Crew podcast and click join now. All right, Taboki. So switching gears from the Memory of Mankind, which is hard to switch gears from because it's just so fascinating. But we are going to switch gears to a tiny show and tell us from listener Lily. Lily wrote in saying, in 2023, researchers discovered that there might be a genetic link / predisposition to severe morning sickness. Anyone have any updates since then? 3 question marks. Currently at week 11 of pregnancy, and I would love something more helpful than Gatorade, saltines, and waiting for the second trimester.
Well, Lily, I'm sorry. But no.
Yeah, that's
I think that's about where we're at. medically.
The short response is nope.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is very delayed. Lily wrote in a while ago. We have quite the stack of stories that listeners have sent us, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But if you're like, wait, I submitted this 6 months ago, you probably did.
And it's because somebody here had the audacity to be pregnant.
Yeah.
Both of us, basically, like over the last 2 years. These questions are very near and dear to our heart, or at least to me, because I feel like I'm always like, yes, let me dive back into pregnancy. This stuff is so fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Lily, I'm hoping that your morning sickness subsided a long time ago. It's just like a memory of the past at this point.
Yes.
But now I'm going to give you some info. So, context for morning sickness. At least 7 out of 10 pregnancies involve nausea and vomiting. That's so many. I mean, I was very lucky because I did have nausea, but I didn't vomit ever.
Right, same.
And you didn't really have it at all.
Yeah, I had the nausea, but it wasn't too bad. Like it was really just like smells made me, I had like the sensitivity to smells, but
Got it.
I think I was lucky. I feel guilty saying this like out loud to Lily and anyone else who's pregnant and dealing with this, but
yeah, it's such a bad feeling. So in general, the causes of morning sickness are pretty mysterious, but there is semi-recent evidence that has suggested that a hormone called GDF15 could be involved. So this stands for growth differentiation factor 15. I'm just going to call it GDF15.
Mm-hmm.
So GDF15, it's made by the fetus, and in general, it's found at really low levels in all of our tissues. So even when you're not pregnant, you have GDF15 in your tissues at really low levels. So this study looking at GDF15 involved researchers from a bunch of different countries, and they looked at data from Rosie Maternity Hospital at Cambridge University. And so what they found was that people who normally had lower levels of GDF15 in their blood,
like outside of pregnancy.
Right. Outside of pregnancy, so you go into pregnancy with lower levels of GDF15 than the general population. Those people were at higher risk of severe nausea and vomiting when they got pregnant. And researchers also found that there's a rare genetic variant that is associated with hyperemesis gravidarum. Hyperemesis gravidarum is like, it's not even fair to call it morning sickness. It's not morning sickness.
Yeah.
It's like round the clock, severe, sometimes fatal because it's so intense. This is severe nausea and vomiting, can lead to intense dehydration. I actually wrote a story about this a while back, but it's really scary and it's not good. This kind of research is so important. Yes, for morning sickness, but hyperemesis gravidarum is debilitating and sometimes fatal. So what researchers found was that there's this rare genetic variant that's associated with hyperemesis gravidarum, and that variant is associated with lower levels of GDF15. So, having low levels going into pregnancy puts you at a higher risk for morning sickness, but even lower levels seems to be associated with this severe nausea and vomiting.
Right.
But on the other side of the coin, people with beta thalassemia, this is an inherited blood disorder, have higher levels of GDF15 before pregnancy. And those people seem to have very little nausea and vomiting, which is really super fascinating.
Yeah.
And so the take home here is how sick a person feels seems to be based on how much of that hormone is being made. And just as importantly, how much that pregnant person was exposed to the hormone before they got pregnant.
Right.
So it's really about that baseline and then the amount produced by the fetus in comparison to that baseline.
Yeah.
And then when looking at mice, this is kind of interesting. So when looking at mice, looking for this same hormone, they found that high levels of GDF15 was associated with appetite loss, which can't really ask a mouse if they feel nauseous, but that is kind of an interesting readout. But then when they were treated with long-acting GDF15, the mice were fine when they later faced high levels of the hormone. So that was kind of interesting and also suggested that maybe building up tolerance to GDF15 before pregnancy could help prevent sickness. But that's kind of tricky because you're talking about giving someone more of a hormone that maybe would just make them feel sick a bunch leading up to them being pregnant. I don't know. I mean, I would think it's not coming from the fetus, but it's coming from however it would be given, injected or whatever.
Right.
I would assume then yeah, you're not pregnant, but you're still feeling terrible.
Yeah, but maybe if you dose it right, like maybe if you just kind of gradually.
Right.
I imagine that's
The
what
smallest
could,
amount.
Yeah, because it totally makes sense what you're saying, where it's like you can't just give a person a bunch of GDF-15.
Right.
One of the other things I was wondering, especially like you were talking about beta thalassemia being connected with like little to no nausea and vomiting, and that's an inherited disorder. That was making me think about the fact that I remember asking my mom, and she had told me she had never had any morning sickness, and her sister didn't have any morning sickness. So I was like, oh, maybe there's like this family component to it. And I wonder if that's something that you could use to actually, one of the questions is like, how would you even know if someone has this low tolerance for GDF-15? But I wonder if you can use family history to predict, or how predictive family history is for this kind of thing, where it's like, oh, especially if some of these issues might be genetic.
Right.
Some of these issues might be something we can link to certain genes.
Yeah.
Is there a way to predict it?
Right. I mean, more often than not, it's hard because, like I mentioned at the beginning, at least 7 out of 10 pregnancies involve nausea and vomiting.
Right.
So more likely than not, you're hearing someone say, yeah, I was nauseous during pregnancy. Yeah, my mom was. Yeah, my grandma was, I don't know if I've found anyone who has said, I had severe, severe nausea, and no one in my family seems to have had that when they were pregnant. So there's something there.
Yeah.
It seems.
First trimester is tough.
Yeah. First trimester is really rough. I feel like people would say, oh, first isn't great, but third is just as bad. No.
Plus, third, you look so pregnant that everyone is like, okay, what do I need to do to help you? Like, first, you're just like...
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you to Leo and Lily for submitting to Tiny Show and Tell Us, a bonus series from Tiny Matters, created by the American Chemical Society and produced by Multitude.
You can send us an email to be featured in a future Tiny Show and Tell Us episode at tinymatters@acs.org, or you can fill out the form that is linked in the episode description. We'll see you next time.